It's not terribly late or anything like that, but not terribly early either. Let me just go ahead and launch that tweet here, but bam! I am now live with Gundam Wing, and Endless Waltz, and Operation Meteor. Oh man, I'm not entirely excited for that one. Alright, looking good on the audio here. Everything's all a little tweaked out. I'm gonna try and keep an eye on you folks here too, just in case. I'm gonna see how things kind of work out. I'm gonna play around with some of the settings I have here. Ooh, I hope you all have been doing good this entire week. I have been exhausted. I was surprised I was able to pull this one off, surprisingly enough. Yeah. Just to give you guys some ideas of what we are anticipating, let me make sure I get some of my other things opened up here. Come on. Come on, my little Twitch notifier. Tell me, am I alive or am I not? Ah, I am alive. But yeah, I'm gonna be starting in just shy of a minute or so, folks. But I do want to tell you guys, those who are jumping into the stream here or catching this stream, this live stream portion of it on YouTube, do want to give you guys some, wow, I want to have junk in my throat. So I kind of got a little bit of an itinerary here, but yeah, I'm going to be going over the Gundam Wing review, alongside with Endless Waltz, and the, I wouldn't say never before seen, but the rarely seen Operation Meteor OVAs. Additionally to what I'm going to be talking about too, I'm going to talk a little bit more about some upcoming things I'm going to be doing too. But just to highlight a little bit, I'm going to be doing a, I'm going to be converting a lot of these videos. I already have these reviews, not the full live stream reviews, but the reviews. I'll probably do some live stream ones later on because I'm going to try and turn this kind of like a podcast too. And just, you know, just to expand my growth here and, you know, more visibility, I guess. But for those of you who don't care to watch, you know, because I don't do a whole lot on my screens here. I just do mostly talking, and I put up, you know, a screenshot or some things like that. Especially if I go to my mech portion or the mech design talking, and I point out some stuff. But I'm gonna try and get this converted over to like put it on Spotify or Google Podcasts and stuff like that. I'm gonna try and get this out there a little more accessible for you guys, so that if you don't feel like you want to watch my videos but you want to listen to it, the commentary I can provide, I want to give you guys that option too. So I just want to give you guys a heads up. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this after I'm done with the reviews, but I really want to just jump into the reviews because it's early. I know. Man, I don't know if you catch my tweets early today. I thought I was going to stream earlier, like a few hours earlier, and I was not having it. My body was just like, long story short, I helped my wife out with her packaging, right, or whatnot. So I helped her out this morning, and I was dead exhausted still. Did not get much sleep. My wife headbutted me when we were sleeping. So yeah, that was not fun. I asked her in the morning, like, hey honey, do you remember anything from last night or whatnot? I was like, no, I just remember after we watched Off the Ranch, we kind of passed out on the couch. Like, you read about that? Don't remember anything else? No. Well, you headbutted me and you woke me up. And it's like, oh, yeah, your head doesn't hurt or anything like that? No? Okay. So yeah, I woke up with a legit headache. But yeah, I was exhausted. I didn't think I would, I thought I would wake up in the morning and I would do another early live stream. I did not get to do that. So I ended up, after helping out my wife, get everything packed up and going, and she went to her little market, I was exhausted. I did not want to do the live stream this early. I was not cognitive. If you thought the last two live stream reviews that I did were kind of like rough, if you watch the full length ones, you'll see what I'm talking about, because I do a lot of bloopers and stuff like that, or like trying to get things staged up for, like, you know, the YouTube video itself, right? A lot of mess ups. I wasn't fully there. This morning I was like that, and I'm like, no, let me try and get some sleep. Try to get some sleep. 20 minutes later, my body was like, hey, dude, so about that sleep, I'm not sleepy anymore. Let's go do stuff. And my mind's like, body, why are you doing this to me? Body, why? I'm tired. I can't think right now. I can't process things. But I want to do things. I want to do things. Body, no, 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 please, no, 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 no. Oh, okay, body. Body gets up, wants to do stuff, and my mind's just being dragged along. If you looked at my Twitter, you'll see what I'm saying, because I posted it, and there's a GIF that just so eloquently placed it how my body is dragging my mind with it. I am awake though now, not completely, but I'm awake. I should probably get started now here. As you could tell, if I'm able to constantly ramble, I think we're good to go. So, just in case for those of you who don't know, I'm gonna be staging this kind of like I am doing a YouTube video. So if I do flub ups or anything like that, please bear with me. And of course, once I say my close, which will happen once I'm done reviewing the giving my overall score of all three, basically. Don't leave just right away. I am not done with the live stream portion. I do have some more things I want to talk about, such as talking about turning some of my stuff into a podcast alongside with video portions for YouTube. And of course, I do have another live stream I hope I'll have the energy to do. We'll find out shortly. It is 11:30 right now, my time. An hour normally later is when I would normally stream on Saturdays, but I'm going to do it early. That said, hey there, and welcome to another nerdy review. I'm Briston, and today I'll be reviewing man. I filled that one up here. I'm tired. Wow. Wait, is it this arm? Is I? I'm looking off to the sides. I'm trying to get things going. Okay, so. Oh. I thought I was awake for this. My body told me I was awake for this. Stop lying to me, body. Alright. Hey there, and welcome to another nerdy review. I'm the Absolute Nerd, and today we'll be reviewing. Oh no. I don't know why I did that. Oh, I see what's going on here. It's being garbage. What if I did this? Oh no. It won't let me do that. I wonder why it's having conniption fit now. That's absolutely a first. I'm not joking about that one. Here, let me fix this up a bit. I apologize. This has never happened before. Here's where you can see that there are flub ups and the production of things. Yay. Take it slow, bro. I don't know why it's in. I guess OBS is doing something funny now. Makes me a little bit sad, but I do not know why it doesn't let me transition appropriately between the screens. Huh. Well, folks, that's live stream for you. But no, I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to troubleshoot this really quick here. I guess I'm just gonna do it the way I originally had planned out to do it. All right, let's do this. I would almost be worried about that would hurt your guys' ear, but then I realized something that it would not hurt your ears, I think. All right. Hey there, and welcome to another nerdy review. I'm the Absolute Nerd, and today we're going to be reviewing new mobile report Gundam Wing. Why do I try? Okay. Man, here we go. This is going to be a fun morning. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do this. Hi there, and welcome to another nerdy review. I'm the Absolute Nerd, and today we're going to be reviewing New Mobile Report Gundam Wing, not RoboCop. Now, before we begin with the review, I just want to give you guys this quick little throw in here. Oh god, it sounds terrible. Ah! I wonder. Give me a second here. I want to try something kind of different. I think this can work. I want to try it. I want to see how it's like. Oh. Oh no. Oh no 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 no. That's too much. Oh. Oh, I can almost make it work. Almost is the key word here. Oh no. Oh no. I think you guys can see it, right? It's just like I'm just tinkering around with this. I'm just trying to get this to work. Alright. I should really futz with this. In before the live stream, right guys? Right? I should be doing that, not during it. You're learning on the go here, you know, with the whole live stream. For those of you who are not familiar with it, I mean I'm no pro at it. I mean I'm totally a pro. What am I talking about? I know what I'm doing, right? Person, you got this. You know what you're doing. No, I don't. Yeah, this is the morning. Hope you guys are having fun with this. I apologize. I really apologize for this. Okay, let me try. Get this going. Let's try this again, shall we? Hey there, and welcome to another nerdy review. I'm the Absolute Nerd, and today I'll be reviewing New Mobile Report Gundam Wing. Now, just a quick disclaimer here if you haven't already. If you're watching this on Twitch, make sure to follow me on my Twitch channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment down below. I want to hear from you guys what you think about this series. And lastly, if you want to keep up to date with me with what I'm doing or what I'm going to be reviewing next, follow me on my Twitter account. On my Twitter account, I announce what I'm going to be reviewing next, when I'm going live, and of course just random things here and there. With that said, let's go ahead and jump into the review. Let's start off here quickly with the story here. If you're not familiar with Gundam Wing, I would think that some of you might be, but for those of you who are new or have never watched Gundam Wing before, not a 90s kid like myself, here's some info here. So the story for Gundam Wing is basically, it takes place in the AC or After Calling 195. 5 Gundams are sent to the Earth in order to fight against the Alliance and Oz forces. That's the gist of the story. And I do have to say, it is an ever-evolving story and plot line. Although it still kind of stays the same with the 5 Gundams versus Oz. It really changes and alternates throughout the entire series. But that's the story right there. For those who are not in the know again, too, when it comes to Gundam Wing, let me just pull that one up for you guys here. So, Gundam Wing is a 49-episode series that was originally released in Japan back in 1995. This is the second of 3 series released by Bandai Sunrise, part of the alternate universe Gundams that were released at that time. Beforehand, G Gundam was released before Gundam Wing, and then the year after Gundam Wing was released, Gundam X was released. All 3 of these were set in alternate universes, no longer taking place in the Universal Century or UC Century. So, just like with G Gundam being in Future Century, we have Gundam Wing taking place in After Colony or AC. Now, when it was originally released in Japan, it was met with like decent reviews for the most part. Just like Gundam, G Gundam itself, the Japanese public was just fine with Gundam Wing itself. It wasn't too crazy or whatnot. What makes Gundam Wing very famous, or infamous depending on how you want to look at it, was the popularity that blew up with Gundam with its release in 2000 in the United States. You see, back in 2000, let me rewind a little bit. Actually, I'm going to rewind quite a bit. Yeah, give me a second here. I swear to God, projecting with my voice sometimes, it's always a pain. I'm gonna take it from the top with the series. So for those who don't know, Gundam Wing is a 49 episode series that originally was released in Japan back in 1995. This series was the second series of 3 released in the mid-90s, part of Bandai Sunrise's alternative Gundam timelines. Before Gundam Wing, G Gundam was released, which was set in Alright, so now for those of you not in the know, now with Gundam Wing, it was oh my god, I can't brain today. Why? These last few weeks have been very rough on me, folks. I apologize. Between work and watching the series, it has been very, very difficult finding any me time necessarily. So I've been going at this quite literally like a machine. Unlike Hiroyui in this series, I am not a freaking invincible Terminator with limitless energy. I crash and my brain farts constantly. What it is to err as human. Oh god. Alright, I got this. So, Gundam Wing is a 49 episode series that was originally released in 1995 back in Japan. So, Gundam Wing is a 49 episode series that was originally released in Japan back in 1995. This is the second series in 3 back-to-back Gundam series that was released as alternate timelines from the Universal Century. So, again, Bandai Sunrise staying away from the Universal Century timeline, we are now focusing on alternate universes, with G Gundam being the very first one featured in FC or Future Century. Gundam Wing, as I've mentioned with the story, is released as a AC or After Colony. I didn't like that. I apologize. So, Gundam Wing is a 49 episode series that was originally released in Japan back in 1995. This is the second series of Oh man, the revenge of food. I swear to God. I eat or I don't eat, and because I project, it kind of like gets everything kind of like coming back up because I'm pressing down on my diaphragm. Not physically, obviously. Well, internally I am. This is how you voice act, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I've done voice acting before too, so there's that. Alright, let's try and make this a good go again. I'm still in the beginning, folks. I'm still at the beginning. Got this. So, Gundam Wing is a 49 episode series that was originally released in Japan back in 1995. This is the second of 3 back-to-back Gundam series that was released in an alternative timeline set different from the Universal Century, or UC. Just like G Gundam before it, which was set in Future Century, or FC, Gundam Wing, as I mentioned in the story, was released in After Colony, or AC. Now, when it was originally released in Japan, it was met with like decent reviews and favor, much like G Gundam. However, Gundam Wing is actually more famous or infamous, depending on how you want to look at it, when it was originally released in the United States back in 2000. You see, when it was originally released through Cartoon Network's Toonami block in 2000, it started off what was basically the very first wave of Gundam fans. When Gundam Wing was originally released, a ton of viewers, including yours truly right here, was enamored with the entire series. It was an incredible, action-packed, enthralling story told through like robots. Sorry. Like many 90s kids such as myself, watching this back on Toonami was an absolute thrill. It was something completely different. What am I doing? I feel like I'm jumping the gun here again, too. Alright, so I mentioned about the series was originally released on Cartoon Network's Toonami block. There we go, finally got rid of that. That nasty ingestion. I don't remember at certain points here. So with this series being released back in 2000, it created a whole slew of new Gundam fans, essentially, including yours truly here. If it wasn't for Gundam Wing's release back on the Toonami timeframe in 2000, I probably wouldn't have gotten familiar with Gundam until much later in my life due to anime and all that, but honestly, a lot of Gundam fans in the United States, and I would say it elsewhere too, that had the Toonami block for Cartoon Network, really know more about Gundam, mostly because of Gundam Wing. There are other times where there will be other surges of Gundam fans too, such as like the other 90s Gundams that were later released on the Toonami block, and then a much later time frame with a second major wave, which was with Gundam Seed. Ugh, I hate saying that. But that's the truth though. I have absolutely fond memories of Gundam Wing. I remember when I was a kid coming back home, excited to watch it. If I wasn't mistaken here, it came on before Dragon Ball Z, which was another popular series that blew up on Toonami itself, which I absolutely love. I mean, you can kind of tell with the armor here. But Gundam Wing was an absolutely exciting series to watch. Completely action-packed with a kind of crazy convoluted political plot line going on, but it was an amazing ride to watch, and to this day it's still an amazing watch. I'm just sad that a lot of fans don't get a chance, like people who are coming into the Gundam franchise didn't get to experience it like we 90s kids did, but nothing that you can truly miss out on. That said, when Gundam Wing did come out, again, the Gundam fandom blew up with the United States, so there was a whole slew of release for Gundam Wing toys, merch, models, which then brought in a lot of other models, and what brought Bandai to be more of a stronger focus with the Gundam franchise in the United States. At least from what I perceived it here. I didn't do further more research beyond that one, but that's what I perceived it at least. With that said, too, I just want to talk about some, like, you know, the main factors I usually like to jump into here. So, a lot with the animation with Gundam Wing, no, it's very different. I say it this way. So, beforehand, back in '94, we had two series that came out or ended at that time. We had Victory Gundam and we had G Gundam. Both animations were very similar to each other. I'll bet Victory Gundam was a little bit more contrasty, and then G Gundam was a little bit more flushed out, allowing the animation to have a lot more of a flurry with the fighting animation. But Gundam Wing is very different here. I only have a couple of screenshots for you guys here, but like this is a pretty good example here of the animation itself. If you look back to my previous reviews or look up screenshots for V Gundam or G Gundam, you're going to see that instead of the washed out kind of colors, we kind of got like a lot more of these starchy colors. Very contrasty and a lot more impactful with the colors itself. Let me pull back over to here too. Here's another scene where you can see what I'm saying, like the colors are more starchy, more inline, not too much of a flushed out color like G Gundam or Victory Gundam of its time. Only a year's difference, and we could see a huge departure in the animation. I do want to say it does feel more so like in line with the 90s animation, although completely different from things that we would see later on, such as 8th MS Team in that regard, or even though it's much earlier in the timeline, Gundam Delo 83. But it kind of has this like little balance between like kind of like OVA animation and then what the 90s animation of that time frame is. But that being said, though, the animation for Gundam Wing isn't that bad. It's actually pretty good and sets a lot of that atmosphere and tone. But what really sets the tone and atmosphere for this series, besides the story itself, is the music. A lot of the music in Gundam Wing tends to be very theatrical, very operatic. Also has those action pieces too for a lot of the action sequences, and gets a lot more like intense itself. But a lot of the music sets a lot of that atmosphere and tone alongside it with the animation. I can't tell you how much I really love the music from Gundam Wing. Everything from the opening themes, such as like just communication all the way to, well, hold on a second. I don't care much for the ending theme itself, but for the most part, all the music in this series is phenomenal. I still have memories though, because back when it was released on Toonami, it didn't actually have the original Japanese animation openings or anything like that. In fact, it had this, like kind of specially edited or cut openings for Toonami. I still find that kind of memorable. A lot of it's still in the back of my head or how I remember it. I highly suggest you guys, if you get a chance, look it up on YouTube. I know there's some like random videos out there that would have like how Gundam Wing used to open up on Toonami. And the first thing I can always remember is like, it's a Gundam! And then like random explosions and stuff like that. So I really remember that too. That's part of my childhood memories right there. But outside of that one, music, phenomenal in Gundam Wing. Absolutely amazing. And really hits key points there. I really love a lot also the sad music in Gundam Wing too. I think the song was called like a sad clock for a clown or something like that. I can't remember. But it's very, very sad, very melodramatic music too. It's so great. I actually have a lot of the OST music still with me to this day, and I actually have it in my playlist too, because every now and then I love going back to the Gundam Wing music and just listening to it. That's how good it is. Alongside with the music, now this, of course, I have not really watched Gundam Wing with a little bit of an exception with Operation Meteor, but I never really watched it in its original format of Japanese. I have pretty much watched Gundam Wing almost always in the English dub. The English dub is how I've always remembered Gundam Wing, and I do have to say, the English dub for Gundam Wing is fantastic. Everybody fits their characters very well, very personifies their characters extremely. It's kind of funny though, because some major differences that I noticed too was with Catra's and Duo's voice. Scott McNeil, if I'm not mistaken here, does the voice for Duo. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I haven't pulled up the names here. But he does a phenomenal voice for Duo, and then translating in the tonalities of his character, of Duo's character. Comparatively, what I watched in the Japanese dubbing for Operation Meteor, Duo kind of has that tonality to it. But man, does the English dubbing really amps it up to an 11. So I think that was fantastic. Another different one too is with Catra. In the Japanese version, he's actually voiced by a female. In contrast, same thing with Catra here. Catra's actually voiced by a voice actress in Japanese, and Catra's very effeminate tone for what he is in the series itself. Sorry, let me scrap that a little bit. I'm like tripping over my mind basically. So likewise from Duo, Catra is another interesting voice in the transition from Japanese to English. In Japanese, he's voiced by a voice actress, which is not uncommon in Japanese animation or in anime in general. However, a lot of his personality though doesn't come off necessarily as that. He's supposed to be that very soft kind of a spoken character. The way that the Japanese voice actress portrays him gives him more of that, that effeminate tonalities. I'm not really catching it too much when I watch it during Operation Meteor, but Brad Swaley, who also does a lot of the voice acting for Amuro Ray for a lot of the dubbings of when Amuro's in any of the Gundam series or in the games themselves too, does a fantastic job of capturing not necessarily the femininity in Catra's voice, but the softness in his tones and his personality. So I think it was a nice little contrast that it's the exact same character, but the way that they were portraying this character was a nice little way. Duos, we have dialing the notch up to an 11, and then Catra, not so much as making him to a feminine, but changing the femininity within the tones and his manners and his tonalities. So I actually liked that a lot between that when it came to dubbing of both versions, from what I've noticed at least. Other than that, everybody else fits so well with their character. I really, really enjoyed a lot of the voice actors for the English dub. Great stuff. If anything else, I really enjoyed Treize's voice. His is the one that probably resonates with me the most, because a lot of his speeches that he does in the series has a lot of this gravitas, this theatrical kind of a portrayal, and I really enjoyed and loved that a lot. I would also say the same thing with Zex. He kind of got that nitty gritty, gruntish, like soldier-esque kind of tonalities behind him as well. Again, fitting with his character and fitting with the storyline or overall themes of this series. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to like get to another part. Alongside with the voice acting itself, I feel a lot of the sound effects in Gundam Wing is probably the most memorable. I think, even though a lot of sound effects are borrowed from, of course, the previous Gundam series, it does introduce a lot of newer sound effects that we don't hear previously, such as the machine gun fire from like Leo units or Taurus units, certain mechanized motions and movements. These are newer sound effects that weren't previously introduced in previous Gundam series. And those sound effects carry onward to the Gundam franchise to this day as well. So I feel like a lot of the sound effects in Gundam Wing really resonates so well. Kind of like utilizing the old and then implementing the new, and then bringing that forward into the fold for the future Gundam franchise series. Now, I kind of mentioned this before too with Gundam Wing. Gundam Wing does a fantastic job of balancing between what is the crazy amount of action in this series and the political drama of the plotline here of the story of the series as well. Oddly enough, because Gundam Wing is, I would almost feel, at least up to this point here, there's gonna be other series that will compete against Gundam Wing, but I feel like Gundam Wing was probably more actiony than anything else. But when in comparison, if you look at the screen, the runtime of the episodes themselves, it kind of evens out between the action and then between the story itself. So it's kind of interesting how everyone really tends to remember the action of this series and not so much so as the story. But there is a reason behind that, and I'll dive into that a little bit more too. But yes, Gundam Wing does have a fantastic pace between the storytelling and then the crazy amount of action. Now, as for the story, and this is something I really want to focus in on here, a lot of people tend to overlook this or sometimes look directly at this and have some things to say about Gundam Wing's story. I do want to say, out of all the Gundam series, and this is, of course, not me traveling further along in the Gundam franchise at the moment here and going based off of a memory, but Gundam Wing has the most fluid story in terms of the political timeline itself, alongside with the characters, how everyone constantly changes or shifts, and the who's a friend or who's a foe really is blurred in Gundam Wing. It constantly changes, and I think that's one of the most fascinating things about Gundam Wing compared to any other Gundam series in the Gundam franchise. It's a lot of focus on this political theater. I'm sorry, I was getting ahead of myself again too. So Gundam Wing's story, the overall plotline of the series, is really focusing on this over-the-top, grandiose, operatic political theater. And even though we do have a lot of characters that we do focus on or look towards or like, have an episode focus on, they're merely like players in this political theater. Very much so, I would almost say and argue too that the political theater in this series is almost like a character itself. It's ever growing, ever changing, ever so dynamic. It's incredibly intense. And I can get, and this is where I would talk earlier on, where people remember the action more so in Gundam Wing than the story, because the characters and the factions constantly shift to a point where you get lost amongst it all. And there's a purpose for this, for getting lost here too. It's part of that political theater storytelling. And what people would be more attached to Gundam Wing would be the action, because the action's what really carries the story at times when you do get lost. For those who have watched the series before here, I just kind of want to talk about this a little bit, so nothing really to spoil more about it though, is that the series tends to try to tell a story and make you get lost intentionally. there are many times throughout this entire series where it can get very convoluted with its political story. There's a reason though, and that's just because it's trying to tell the story or try to get to the theology of like how the political theater itself is an ever-changing, ever-shifting beast itself. And those who you find yourself allied with ends up sometimes becoming your enemy or vice versa. And in that time, and at those points though, we do have characters that are confused, who are not sure what they need to be doing or who are they fighting for, or what are they fighting for. That confusion is to fit alongside with the themes that Gundam Wing's trying to introduce. It's kind of scary when I say this though, because it reminds me a lot of what's going on in the political atmosphere of today's era, but you can almost say that Gundam Wing almost reflects the politicalness in any given era itself. How we see the political theater being utilized as a weapon or a character itself to really shift the paradigm of what people think or believe in. That's just me touching on like a literal broad stroke of what I'm talking about. There's so much that you can dive into Gundam Wing. Let me put it this way. This is a series I keep coming back to, and I keep finding something new to watch, right? And every single time I watch, I think that I've discovered everything I can about this series, and there's something more to dig from it. Maybe it comes from my own life experiences and so forth, but I just feel like this is a series that you just keep on coming back to, and you just keep unearthing more and more riches from it. This time around, when I had watched it, I mean, I already got the idea of the level of political theater, but now paying more attention to it, it's kind of scary how it even harkens to things that we see today in today's political atmosphere, as well as something that you can see in the past as well. The swaying of the people's opinion, manipulating the people's opinion, manipulating the hearts and minds of men and women, soldiers, citizens alike. The belief in what, I mean, the series itself does talk about proxy wars, and I feel like it kind of goes into Metal Gear Solid territory, especially with number 4, though. You know, war has changed, and that it is with Gundam Wing. At the very beginning of the series, we are introduced, like, you know, the not chivalry, but the natures of what it is to fight human against human. We are later on, and this is minute spoilers, but the concept of mobile dolls, or fighting, in a sense, proxy wars, and taking away the humanity or the humane thing about war. Kind of odd. And this is where I get into the whole conversation about Gundam Wing taking the core aspects of what makes the Gundam franchise, and not exactly flipping it on its head, but telling it from a different perspective. You see, much of the Gundam core aspects usually talked in a more direct perspective. Tomino has always been writing about Gundam from a personalized perspective. We follow our specific characters, and they are not the personification, but we experience, you know, war is hell / war is absolutely the terrors of war. The war is horrible. The whoever wins, the innocent lose. Those sort of things. Even to an extent, environmental aspects through these characters. Gundam Wing takes what Tomino has done in the past and flips it around. This is where I say, like, the story is more like a character itself rather than the characters being that, because the story becomes more of that personification. Our characters, again, are like players in a theater or in a play itself. They merely just represent ideologies, moralities, concepts, but they are not the real focus of what tells the stories necessarily. They are more like the moving pieces in a chess game. And excuse me, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. Ooh, trying to wake up again. Sorry, I kind of like derped out what I was trying to talk about with Gundam Wing. Where was I getting at again? So it's like the ever-changing dynamics here. Let me just try to get back, because I tried to dial myself back down because I was getting ahead of myself and I was like jumping around. So, the way that Gundam Wing goes about the storytelling is that it flips things, like, it kind of flips the head on the Gundam mythos or the core elements of the Gundam franchise. For an example, like the whole conversation about the proxy war, or the ideology behind, or so, in the concept of like, so just diving into one of the concepts that Gundam Wing talks about is the ideology behind a proxy war. And it diverges furthermore, like, you know, war is horrible itself, but at the same time, it's saying that war is a necessity, and Gundam does kind of talk about this at times. But in the sense that with war, we fight our wars, and with people dying in them, basically, we realize our fallacies, we realize our errors, we realize that we lose a part of ourselves alongside with the war itself. But we also gain. Kind of like that whole destruction and then creation through that destruction itself. Through the destruction, we want to create a better world. We want to create more peace. We want to create a better time for our future generations. The ideology that they brought in here was that, what if we start doing proxy wars because we want to fight a deathless battle? Well, then we create this kind of scenario where we would end up fighting these never-ending wars where lives don't mean anything, and that those who truly fight it are too afraid to truly fight and really want to make change. And so we would just end up becoming like a stalemate almost. And that what we in a sense would have learned or gained from an actual war, we would never learn from it, because we are not fighting it ourselves. We are not losing people in it ourselves. We have nothing to gain or lose from these fights other than just the fights that constantly happen. So it brings these like an interesting concept and flips the script around a little bit with some of the Gundam mythos, like in that concept of war as hell, but war itself is a creator itself. Kind of fascinating and interesting when it comes to Gundam Wing. Now, I don't want to go too much into it, but there's other ideologies that Gundam Wing really tackles on, such as what it means to be a soldier, what does it mean to truly achieve pacifism, what does it mean to fight. So it gets into a lot of these ideologies, these mythos of what is inside the wars themselves and trying to build a better future. And it's done so through our players. Yes, we do have a lot of our characters, but a lot of them really focus more so on the battlefield politics themselves. For those of you who are familiar with the series, and this is not a huge spoilers itself, but if you look at it, we have different kind of characters embodying, again, like I mentioned, the philosophies, the ideologies, different embodiments of what war brings, essentially, or what we do in war itself. Relina is basically that absolute total pacifism, and naive yet honest and good-natured. You have people like Treize, Zex, Hiro, even Lady Untun to extent too. Different aspects of what it means to be a soldier, what it means to be a soldier, or I would even throw in Wu Fei there too. What it means to be a soldier, what it means to fight, what are they fighting for? These kind of perspectives and these aspects constantly change and alter as the story progresses through the entire series. These characters do change themselves too, but it's more so, it's not them changing, but more or less personifying the absolute change of these ideologies and the philosophies that they represent. So that's what I mean when Gundam Wing is more so about the overall theatrical politics itself. It's more involved about what's going around in the political atmosphere. And it is very much the main focus in the character itself. And the characters within this political atmosphere are merely players in that theater, being little puppets to this political theater. I do want to mention another character I didn't mention here too. I mentioned like Hiro, Wu Fei, Treize, Zex. There's also other characters too, such as Dorothy, who is another representation of the innate human desire for conflict and war. Very much, she kind of reminds me of Ginginium from Turn A Gundam. But like I said, there's a lot of these characters that are personifications, not so much so as like they are characters in it themselves, they are these embodiments of these beliefs, these philosophies. And again, seeing the story play around with them, and how everything revolves around this main story, basically this political theater itself, is truly fascinating. I cannot blame anyone who does get lost watching this series at times, because again, just like sometimes the characters themselves too, things can get a little bit convoluted with the characters, and so does the story. But it's a fascinating one. Now, outside of all that political theater talk and stuff like that, the action in this series is top notch. I cannot say how much I really enjoyed watching this series, if not for paying attention to what's going on in the storyline itself and how the plot constantly advances in so many ways. It is constantly advancing. So does the action. The action is ever so consistent with being constantly there, constant fighting, intensifying things, just not entirely always ramping things up, but it's always in key with the story. And so it marches to that same beat and tempo. And it's fun. It's absolutely fun and enthralling to watch. Ooh, sorry. I do have to say though, and usually I bash Gundam Seed for this one and see Destiny the most for this, but up until this point in the Gundam franchise, I haven't seen anything that really utilized stock footage as much as Gundam Wing does. Now, Gundam Wing doesn't go egregious with it like Seed and Seed Destiny does, but Gundam Wing does utilize a lot of stock footage imagery and scenes that constantly replays throughout multiple episodes. So like the same shots of Leo's firing or Taurus is firing their beam of machine guns, the Heavy Arms doing its similar animations, or the Shenlong Gundam. So we see some familiar animations throughout the entire series, but it's not egregious. It's not bad. It still adds in more, and it's still exciting and fun. It sounds like I'm making an excuse for Gundam Wing, but I'm not. I can't wait till when I get to the seed portions, but trust me when I say that when I talk about the stock footage used in Gundam Wing does not detriment the series, nor does it feel like you're watching the exact same thing replayed throughout the entire episode. You might see a single stock footage used like once per episode, not 2 or 3 times in the exact same episode. If that makes any sense. Now, I talked about characters, and here's something I want to talk about. This is gonna borderline on spoiler stuff here, so if you guys want to fast forward a little bit, I'll tell you right now, go ahead, fast forward up to when you start seeing me talk about the mechas, because I'm gonna talk about Hiro for a moment here. Ever since I had watched this series, Hiro has been a consistent annoyance to me as a character. Close your ears, children, if you don't want spoilers. So, well, before actually, hold on a second. What I want to talk about is this. As much as Gundam is always focused on real robot, with G Gundam being the first super robot in a real robot franchise, Gundam Wing kind of borderlines on super robot at many points, especially with our 5 main Gundams. Reason I say this is because a lot of the times they try to make the excuse like, oh, they have Gundanium alloy that they're almost impossible to destroy. And a lot of times it's like people just throwing sticks at them, and then they're just firing, colony destroying beams and slicing them in half and stuff like that. So it gets a little bit ridiculous at times. And I can kind of get it with the Gundams themselves, to an extent some of the mobile suits too. We do get a fair amount of plot shielding, which is very aggravating at times. Some things that, if anybody else had done it and they weren't a named character or, a side character, you'd probably, be Ice, Space Hamburger, or, just, a nameless death, basically. Wing has a couple of those moments, not a couple, a few of those moments for a lot of our characters, but never has it been so much egregious than it is with Hiroyui. Ladies and gentlemen, children, please cover your ears if you do not want spoilers. Jump right over to the mech section of me talking about my favorite suits and mechs of this series, because I'm going to talk about some stuff about Hiroyui, and it might spoil the series for you. Fair warning. Here you go. Alright, so Hiro is like a freaking suicidal Terminator. This dude does not die. Ever. I have a list right here. I kind of want to read it off to you guys here of what I'm talking about, because ever since I had watched the series back in the 2000s, Hiro has been an aggravation for me, because it's like, okay, he should die. He shouldn't be alive because of this. And he's absolutely superhuman. Duo wasn't joking when he's like, what are you, like, superhuman or something like that? Yeah. Hiro's superhuman compared to everybody else in this entire series. It gets aggravating at times. It is anime, what do I expect? But I expect a little bit more from a real robot series. But here we go. For example, in the very first episode here, Hiro has a jumpsuit that has like a self-detonating device. He hits it, blows up, doesn't kill him, doesn't even phase him, right? That's a little okay, right? The following episode, he takes a bullet to the arm from Duo, and it's just merely a flesh wound, no penetration or anything like that, just merely a flesh wound, just bandage it. It's nothing at all. He also, in that same episode too, takes concussive force from rocket-propelled torpedoes, or like, you know, just propulsion takeoff torpedoes. I don't know what you want to call it, but propulsion from the torpedoes, right? He does not take anything from this concussive force that knocks him down and puts him face down in water. Doesn't drown, doesn't do anything to him like that. It's like the kid has like Wolverine-like healing. Fast forward to several episodes later, he falls from what looks to be like, when they mention in the series, like it's like he mentions it's like the 50th floor of this building. So he's 50 floors, jumps off of this building, does a late parachute, which would indicate, if you're not sure, you're not aware about late parachutes, by pulling a late parachute, you run the risk of breaking bones and stuff like that, right? He pulls the parachute late, falls and tumbles hardcore down this cliff, and he merely breaks his right leg. And I do this in quotes, breaks his right leg, because then later on in that episode, or was it the following episode, he just relocates it back in there, like it was like a popped shoulder or popped leg, and that was basically it. No scrapes, no cuts, just that little break that he just popped it back in there, and he's absolutely fine. Again, Wolverine-like healing. The most egregious one of them all. I don't remember the episode. I think it was episode like 10 or something like that. Everybody knows this one. It's the famous one. Spoilers. This is a big spoiler here. When he self-detonates the Wing Gundam, he is literally standing in ground zero, point break, at the cockpit door. Hits the detonation device, which we've seen multiple times in this series. Looks like a freaking like a mini nuke, basically. He is blown from his Gundam, launched out like a rag doll, blown to the ground, and then he just lays in a pool of blood. But you know what? He's okay. Not really that serious. He's only out for like a handful of episodes while he recovers. Totally. He's not turned into like, body parts or hamburger or anything like that. No. He's just blown away, rolls a bit, and then lays in a pool of blood. He's fine. He's fine, folks. Wolverine-like healing and Colossus-like skin. I can't exaggerate this more. There's actually a couple more things here too. I talk about Colossus-like skin. Let's also add in strength. Episode 20, Hiro bails Duo out from a jail cell, basically, and he opens the bars with his bare hands. This is a kid, a scrawny looking kid, and he has Hulk-like strength, Colossus-like strength to open these bars. And he and Duo exit stage left. Or stage right, I apologize. But still. What? Alright, and then last one I had here that I noted, I can't believe I noted this because it baffled me. I wanted to take a note about Hiro's ridiculous amount of feats, superhuman feats. He does fall from the wing. So one of the episodes when he's in the wing 0 for the first time, he pops the cockpit and he drops straight out from the cockpit. That's at least like almost a 2-story drop. Not only does he drop 2 stories from the ground, he lands directly on his head, like boom, like that. Hiro's okay. Nothing at all. No bruises, no scrapes, no scratches, not even a caved-in skull. No, none of that, folks. He's absolutely fine. Wolverine-like healing, Colossus-like skin. I'll throw in Hulk-like strength. The kid is like a freaking invincible Terminator, a suicidal Terminator, and he would not die. I've seen plot shielding like crazy in stories, but Hiro's is the most egregious plot shielding. Oh man, I just had to get that off my chest for you guys. I do want to talk about one more aspect about this series. It's a little bit controversial here too, and it's regarding the whole suicide aspects. It kind of aggravates me at times where a lot of characters either try to commit suicide, Hiro especially, but we got other characters who are willing to sacrifice or kill themselves. I do want to say, after watching several times now, and then actually with this most recent viewing, a lot of it makes sense, and it goes right back to the whole overall storyline or the political theater aspect itself too. It goes right back to the confusion of the characters. What are they fighting for? What are they doing? And feeling lost or confused. And it kind of goes alongside with that mentality and perspective. Each person that tries to do it is doing it for a different reason. Either they've lost purpose, or they're not sure what they're doing, or they think this is the right thing to do at this moment to gain the advantage, to gain the win, those sort of things. There's a lot of characters in this series that actually do this. Well, I do feel like it's a little bit in poor taste at times. It really does fit poignantly with a lot of the aspects of this, but I just want to talk about that just very briefly. I'm not going to dive too much into it because I feel like it's a sensitive subject, especially in my mind here. So I'm not going to dive too much into that, but I do want to talk about that one because some people have brought that up before. I was like, it's got too much of all these suicidal characters, they're bad influences. I agree with you there, but here's the bigger difference is that if you look at the bigger picture, or you look at the atmosphere of what it's trying to portray within, it makes sense. It's trying to tell a story, it's trying to tell a point, not justifying it, trying to make a poignant point. I do think that there are other better ways that they could have gone about that, but it makes sense for what the story was trying to go about it. I'm going to leave it at that. Oh. I feel bad. And let me kind of do this. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I don't want to spoil it necessarily, or I want to skip ahead. I was actually supposed to talk about Gundam Wing or Endless Waltz. You know what? Let me go ahead, so that way people who are watching this or whatnot gets familiar. So, all right. So that's all I have to say about Gundam Wing so far. I mean, I had a lot of fun with this series. So there's a lot to dive into. I'm not going to dive too much into those portions right there. I just want to give you guys an overall glimpse into the ideologies, the philosophies about this series, what makes it really, really solid for me at least. But what I want to get into next is my favorite suits of the series. For those of you who are not in the know, with every single Gundam series into the Gundam franchise, we're introduced to a slew of new suits, new Gundams, redesigns, battleships, those sort of things. Gundam Wing is no different from that. In fact, because it is set in a different timeline from the Universal Century, we get a whole slew of new suits. Off the bat, this is one of those few series I would have to say it's really, really hard for me to say, is there a suit I don't like? Because almost every single suit in this series, I love their designs. Even some of the weirder ones, like the Cancer and Pisces, or the Tragos, which is actually the Sagittarius. I really like a lot of these mech designs. I don't have anything I can't say I did not like. So I'm just gonna start naming suits off, right? But the first ones I want to talk about is how do I put this? There's a lot of awesome suits in this series. I'm gonna name a lot of honorable mentions, and I'm gonna get to the nitty gritty. I'm gonna just like kind of boil them down for you. But like starting us off here, when I first watched Gundam Wing, one of the suits I really did fall in love with was the Ultron Gundam. I had a thing for like dragons and stuff like that, and the Ultron Gundam was kind of like, you know, of course it's got the Chinese dragon stuff or whatnot. So I'm like, I really liked a lot of that stuff. And the Ultron suit was really, really cool. The upgraded version of the Shenlong. So it had the same attributes, but instead of one, it has two dragon heads that come out and serpentine and grab suits and like destroys them. It's got flamethrowers. Flamethrowers are always cool. And then it had these cool like little double beams that would shoot kind of like a stinger, and then the double tridents. So it was a really, really cool suit back in the day. I grew out of that one, but I'm like Ultron was my first Gundam love. I mean, I loved all the other Gundams. Like Wing was a love. That's I think all of them. I didn't care too much for Sandrock. Sorry for Sandrock fans, but I didn't care for Sandrock. But Ultron was my first Gundam love. First Gundam love. Sorry about that, folks. Oh my god. But yes, Ultron was my first Gundam love, so it gets a little honorable mention here. It's my little foray into the Gundam itself. I can't talk about Gundam nowadays without things I like to do, like in video games. I love being, you know, a gunner slash like I'm a brute type of a person in games where I like to shoot a lot slash like do continuous fire or suppressive fire. I'm that kind of a person, and heavy arms is a suit that just falls right within my alleyway. I still love heavy arms to this day. It just going berserk with all the tube missiles and the chest Vulcans, the side Vulcans, head Vulcans, the beam Gatling gun. I loved it all. Even though it's a one-trick pony suit, it's still a suit that I adore to this day. I have a little bit more to talk about it when we get to Gundam Wing, but I just absolutely love the heavy arms. As gimmicky as it is, love the heavy arms. I can't talk about Gundam Wing without talking about not the titular suit, but one of the primary suits, which is the Wing Zero. Anybody who's watched Gundam Wing will always talk about Wing Zero, because Wing Zero is like the end-all be-all of suits in this series, with its incredibly just devastating Buster Rifle. Twin Buster Rifle, might I say. And not limited to a cap of 3 shots. No, it's infinite. But Wing Zero is an awesome suit. I love it for a lot of different reasons, though. Besides the Buster Rifle itself, the design itself is very, very fascinating. I like a lot of its like its details and stuff. I kind of like suits for some odd reason with the little gem in the middle. It's kind of cool. I also love. Let me try and get into its bird mode. I'm too guys to wash out, but I love transformable mobile suits. So Wing Gundam, in particular the Wing Zero, really, really falls into my heart for that. But just like I mentioned with the other ones, these are Gundams that I liked a lot. These are like getting like honorable mentions from me. I don't want to dive too much into it because while I like the Gundams, they're not my favorite things about this series. No. In fact, the favorite things I have about this series are the suits. Now, my first one I'm going to talk about, I feel is a little bit controversial because some people consider it a Gundam, And they do call it the very first mobile suit, and they do consider it like the lead up to the Gundams themselves. So I can see where people call it a Gundam. I kind of look at it like I look at the Hayaku Shiki. It's a in between a Gundam and a actual Gundam, maybe like a Gundam class. But one of the first suits I want to talk about that I really like from this series. Oh, I apologize. I keep building it up. I'll continue on from here. The Tallgeese. I really, really like the Tallgeese. Something about its design is it's just so simplistic yet elegant behind it. It's got a lot of that regality look, yet like a regality look and a soldier-esque way too. When I was younger, I didn't care too much for the headpiece though. But over time, and I started learning more about like world history and stuff like that too. I became more appreciative of like that kind of design. Kind of gives it a little bit of a Roman-esque helmet design too, like a Trojan almost, like a Trojan warrior. I'm saying Trojan, but I'm not mean like that. I mean like just like in general like a Rome helmet in a sense. So I just really like this overall design for the Tallgeese. I'm gonna throw in there too. Oh no, where's my Tallgeese too? My Tallgeese, there's my Tallgeese too. I really also like the Tallgeese too. I mean, it's somewhere different than the Tallgeese. The only difference is that it has a little bit of a different color design with having blue because it's piloted by Trays, and it has a different headpiece. So I kind of really like that as well. If you ask me if I could, I would have definitely changed it up and would have wanted to keep it just more akin to the original Tallgeese. But definitely Tallgeese is one of my favorite suits from this series. I do want to mention a couple more honorable mentions. I'm not sure what happened. I might have mixed this up, but a couple more honorable mentions. I can't mention without mentioning Epion. If I mention Wing Zero, I got to mention Epion as well. I don't know what else to say about this suit. It's going to be kind of funny because we're going to see a little bit of this red suit kind of design or demonic kind of design. Previously, and I want to mention this with G Gundam, we had, Master Gundam with this black and red design with these horns. We come into Gundam Wing and we get Epion, which is this black and red looking design, and its mobile armor form when it transforms. Like I said, I love transforming suits. Transforms into a double-headed Hydra, basically. Really cool, menacing looking almost. First it seems lame, it's like, oh my god, it's its legs just sticking out and whatnot. It looks so stupid and lame. And then when you really think about what it's supposed to look like, it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. And it makes me think of Ghidorah from Godzilla, except it doesn't have a third head. Unless you want to count that third head in between its legs. Not that way, folks. Not that way. God. That's going to be turned out differently. But seriously, you can kind of see the head of the Epion in between the legs itself. So you could say it's like a kind of like a Ghidorah or like a true like Hydra-esque monster. But it's supposed to be a two-headed flying Hydra. I thought that was kind of cool. One other thing I'll talk about, and we're going to see this in the next AU series, in this mid-90s block, is Gundam Virgo and Gundam X, where it has the exact same kind of color scheme and features, even the design look, akin to Master Gundam and Gundam Epion, where we got this demonic-looking Gundam with horns and wings and this black and red design. We'll talk more about that when we get to Gundam X next week. But again, I really do like the Epion Gundam. Its simplicity, it is a barbaric suit, like a brute that I am. An absolute savage beast of a suit. A high output beam saber that can go like maxed out incredibly. You got its heat, like the heat rod. I think that's what it's called, or what is it called exactly? The I can't remember what it's exactly called, but it's like a heat rod itself. Let me try to check. Heat. Yeah, it's a mounted heat rod, a retractable mounted heat rod. Yeah, and it just slices and dices through suits. It's an absolute beast in combat. So really love the Epion. Again, another honorable mention for this suit. One other honorable mention I want to mention about is one of the mobile dolls themselves too. They're Virgos. I actually like the Virgos design. You're going to see this a lot, very similar to a lot of the suits I'm going to be talking about, because this one almost made it to one of my favorite suits. It just didn't in the end, because it's like, compared to the other suits I really like, Virgos are really awesome looking, but I love it more for its practicality of what it can do with its planet defensor. I don't even want to call them funnels or bits. I kind of consider them like bits almost, but they're not. But these planet defensors, which creates a magnetic force field to protect it from majority of the attacks, and then it has a compact, high-powered beam rifle, or they call it a beam cannon. But yes, kind of marrying the V8 with the Mercury is here. We got a really, really cool suit. Fun fact for you folks here too. A lot of the suits in Gundam Wing are named after Zodiac characters. In fact, the faction called Oz is basically called the Organization of the Zodiac. So a lot of the suits are named after a lot of the Zodiac figures. Taurus, Leo, Pisces, Cancer. Trigo is actually Sagittarius. Trigo is actually Greek for goat, if I'm not mistaken here. Virgo. So we've got a lot of suits that are akin to the Zodiac itself. Virgo being, not saying soulless necessarily, but one without like a soul basically, and it fits the suit almost perfectly because these are mobile dolls for the most part. And in fact, I think I never seen a person actually pilot the Virgo itself. Most of the time they have been mobile dolls, but it's still a awesome looking suit. I like a lot of its round designings. The texture behind it itself too, and a lot of the details. It's kind of hard to see it here, but in the series, they're actually pretty detailed. I like them a lot. So those are honorable suits, not including the Tallgeese, because Tallgeese kicks us off on my top suits for the series. But if we're gonna talk about another suit, I cannot talk about, I love backbone suits basically, and one of the suits I absolutely loved in this series, and we get introduced right off the bat when we turn this series on, is the Leo. I really love the Leos. There's something about them. It kind of reminds me. It's the same reason why I like the Tallgeese, because a lot of the designs of the Leos. Oh, let me pull back up the Tallgeese so you guys can see what I'm saying here. Because if you look at the Tallgeese, between that and the Leo, you can kind of see a lot of familiar features between the Leo and the Tallgeese. As I mentioned earlier too, and they mentioned this in the series, the Tallgeese is the very first mobile suit that inspired the designs not only for the Gundams, but for the modern mobile suits, such as the Leos. So a lot of the Leo designs are derivative from the Tallgeese itself. But I also like a lot of its greenish colors and a lot of its aspects for it too. I think it's kind of funny that we never see a Leo truly turn its head. I feel like it's like a Michael Keaton Batman from Tim Burton's 1989 Batman, right? Where he has to turn the body to the look or whatnot. But other than that, I really do enjoy a lot of the Leo. I also love the machine gun for the Leo, the 105 millimeter rifle. It feels so iconic to me when I'm seeing a machine gun. So I'm like, oh man, it's kind of like a Zaku. Wait a second. For those who can watch this here, what does the model number say? It says Oz 06MS Leo. That sounds kind of familiar to me. In fact, it is familiar. This is a nice little play on with model numbers, and if you're familiar with the Gundam franchise and model numbers of the Gundam franchise, you'd realize really, really fast that the flip around of 06MS, if you flip that around, it's MS06, which is the model number for the Zaku 2 from the original Gundam series, which I'm absolutely enamored with. So I love how the Leos not only have a very similar color scheme, a weapon similar to Zaku 2, but also a model number similar to the Zaku 2. So the Leos have a special place in my heart, although they're not going to hit top tier because, it's not quite a Zaku. And I mean, the screen, I don't know, there's something about screen faces in this series. It's weird, but I like it. But it also plays more towards the philosophies in Gundam Wing. There's that saying, like the eyes are the soul, or the windows to the soul, right? So what do you get from a panel like that? And in differences between a mobile doll and a pilot in a mobile suit, you're going to get a different inflection. So I think it's kind of fascinating when you kind of look at that perspective. It's a very subtle thing that's not truly referenced in Gundam Wing, but you can pick up on that though, based off the ideologies and what the tones and themes of the series is. But continuing forward now, it gets really, really hard for me because there was a lot of suits that I really like. Leo's really high up there. These next two suits, though, was the hardest for me to pick. Leo was already hard enough, and I had to kick it down to 3. But these next two were like neck to neck, side by side. Could be number 1 in place, and I could not pick which one I really, really liked. And I really boiled it down to what made me love them so much, because both of them are Transformers. They're transformable mobile suits. Both of them are flying type suits. Both of them look really, really cool. So, which one did I like more? Let's explore. And our number 2 spot for my favorite suit of this series I have is the Ares. I really love the Ares design. It looks like a soldier with like a lot of jet backpack stuff on it. It's kind of got like a pilot helmet, and the front just kind of looks like one of the, like, oxygen respirator kind of things or whatnot. Makes me think like almost like a beefed up Rocketeer, and I really love that. Especially also when it transforms. Let me try and see if I can get it in its transformed mode. I mean, I don't have a really good picture of it necessarily, but when it transforms, I mean, it looks kind of like weird or wonky, but like it looks so cool in the series. Practical in itself, in the series itself too. Just love the overall functions and designs of this suit. Its weaponry isn't as grandstanding compared to a Leo, but it's got so much going for it, I like it a whole lot more than a Leo. Really love the Ares suit. But if we're going to talk about my absolute love for mobile suits and the designs, this was a hard one. But it beat out the Ares. And my favorite suit for Gundam Wing is the Taurus. I absolutely love the Taurus suits. Its transformation, while simplistic just like the Ares suit, it gave it a lot more of a look. I don't have more of a not a profile, right, but more of a undershot or whatnot. I love the Taurus transformations. It's got a lot of these fun like moving features behind it. Its weaponry are really, really powerful. It's not like a beam machine gun. What do they call it? Yeah, it's a beam rifle, but it functions like a machine gun. It has a beam cannon though. That's a high powered one, and then it has these like beam I guess it's a laser gun. That's what they call it. We've only seen like one episode though, but like it's a very interesting suit, very versatile, very formidable too. Good enough to be turned into a mobile doll, but I liked it a lot as a main straight suit that a lot of other pilots had used too. Lucrezia Noin is the one that's most known to use this suit itself, but I really love the Taurus suits. I don't care too much for the Saint Kingdom colors, but that's what Lieutenant Noin's looks like. I really love this black, red, and purple accents on this suit here, though. Definitely. Easily one of my favorite designs of this entire series. So that's all I had to say about favorite suit designs. I do want to, though, before I jump over... Actually, I'm going to wrap this all up for you nice and neat, too. So let me go ahead. I'm going to jump back a little bit. I'm going to scale us back a bit. And let's just jump back over here. In fact, we're not going to just jump here completely. We're going to jump into our next little portion here, which I want to talk about is Endless Waltz. I'm putting this alongside with my Gundam Wing review here, too, and alongside with the Operation Meteor, but that's just because I don't have a whole lot to say about Endless Waltz. But let me kind of just start this off very similar to what I did with Gundam Wing here. So with new mobile report, Gundam Wing, Endless Waltz, let me just give you the quick story of this one here. So for those who are not in the know, of course, the story with Endless Waltz, basically, it takes place 2 years after the... Oh, no, sorry. So let me go ahead and start off with the story here. It takes place about a year after the end of Gundam Wing, which ends in I was gonna say 0079, like the 1 Year War. Anyways, let me go ahead and begin again. So let me go ahead and tell you guys the story real quick for Endless Waltz here. Endless Waltz takes a year after the end of Gundam Wing here, which Gundam Wing does end in AC 196. Endless Waltz takes place in 197. Again, let me scrap all that. I apologize. So let me go ahead and just quickly tell you the story about Endless Waltz here. Endless Waltz takes place in AC 197, which is 1 year after the end of Gundam Wing. The child of Trace Kushanada, Marty Maya Kushanada, their names are kind of hard to say. Oh. That's gross. I apologize. I don't have anything to wipe my mouth around here. That's why I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna suck it up. That's life for you, right? Anyways. So, with the story with Endless Waltz, it takes place in AC 197, 1 year after the end of Gundam Wing. Marimea Kushanada, the child of Trace Kushanada, returns to form a... sorry, I said return. She never returned. She never was in the series to begin with. No one knew that Trace had a tryst against Lady Un. Doesn't seem like she got that pissed off in the movie. For a woman who's willing to die for Trace. Took it pretty well. Anyways. So with the story for Endless Waltz, it takes place 1 year after the end of Gundam Wing, which was AC... oh my lord, I can't talk right now. So with the story of Endless... blah, 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 like... Ego wakarimashita. English. Or ego wakarimashita. Alright. So with Endless Waltz, the story is this. In AC 197, 1 year after the events of Gundam Wing, the child of Trace Kushanada, Marimea Kushanada, forms an army to take over a peaceful Earth, and the 5 Gundams return to stop her army. Wait, refresh. So with the story of Endless Waltz, it takes place 1 year after the events of Gundam Wing, which takes place in... I keep flip-flopping. Sorry. Alright. We got this. Alright, and for the story for Endless Waltz here, in AC 197, a year after the events of Gundam Wing, the child of Trace Kushanada, Marimea Kushanada, forms an army to take over a peaceful Earth, and the 5 Gundams return to stop her army. That's pretty much the gist of that story there. There isn't a whole lot. This is a 1 hour and 30 minute... Or sorry. Oh my lord. Now that's pretty much with the story itself. It is a 1 hour and a half movie, so there isn't a whole lot to go about this. We do get a little bit more backstory with our... This is me right now. I just want to sleep. But I can't because my body won't let me. Also, I'm caffeinated up too. Yeah. So that doesn't help either way, right? Doesn't help. Like, I feel like an alchemist, like, boom, we got this. Converting the air here. I'm being lame. Stay nerdy, folks. Stay nerdy. Anyways. But that's pretty much the story there. There's a little bit more, and I'll dive into that too, but not by a whole lot. So this is a little bit of a unique one here. So for some of those that are more aware about Endless Waltz, it's a 1 hour and 30 minute movie. But beforehand, a year prior to its release in 1998 as a movie, it was originally released a year after the series' completion in 1997 as a 3-part OVA series. There are some differences between the OVA series and the movies. I will be covering that in a very future What's the Gundam Difference? But for right now, let me just give you the quick gist. For those of you who are kind of curious about this, The only major difference is that I was able to determine between the OVAs and the movie itself. The OVAs have a lot more of a darker animation at a lot of points throughout the 3 parts. Alongside with that, there are some scenes that are completely different for the ending portions for our main characters when the OVAs end. Where the movies end, though, it's a completely redone or like newer scenes for many of our characters. In fact, there's an absolutely brand new scene for 2 sets of our characters that we never even seen before in the OVAs. That being said, too, speaking of the movies here, the movie too, I'll let you know that I'm reviewing the movie for the most part. I'm not going to review the OVAs because I like if I'm going to tell you right now, I prefer the movies over the OVAs. So I will just go based off of that. So that's the information for you guys. But I want you guys to see this too. So I talked about like the color difference between the OVAs and the movies. I actually don't have any screenshots from the OVAs itself, but I have screenshots from the movie. And one thing that's easily discernible between the movie and the series is that it has a much cleaner, sharper animation comparatively to the series. So I don't really have anything for character-wise, but you can kind of see that there's a bigger difference. Like the colors are a lot more detailed, defined, harder lines here too. In the series, though, they're not so much as like contrasty colors, more as a saturation, right? We have another set right here where I have another, like, of course, another scene here for Gundam Wing. And we have like a scene here with 3 of our pilots, and you can see like there's a big difference with the colorization in the movies. Now, that being said, too, alongside with the animation's again nice, clean, clear, sharper, very very nice for a movie. There is some cheesiness with the animation, though, and that's regarding a 3D animation of this like junk asteroid in the movie, right? Kind of cheesy. We don't see it a whole lot, though, so which is a good thing. Otherwise, it would really throw things off, but it's pretty bad CGI. Or, yeah, it looks like CGI to me. I would say CGI. It's worse than what we would see like in MS Igloo or something like that. Outside of that one there, with the movie itself, so it does a nice little blend between the action and the story. The movie tends to be a little bit more focused with the story, though, and try to do a lot of setup and build up itself. Much of that first 40-minute run or so, aside from the build up, is actually backstory for our main 5 pilots, which we didn't really get in the original series. In fact, we didn't really get any backstory to them at all. We get some things here and there, but not by a whole lot. The movie clarifies a lot of background story as ascertained to how these pilots became the pilots / were involved in Operation Meteor. So it was kind of nice to see that because Operation Meteor does play pivotal towards the story in this movie here. I'm not going to go beyond that, though, so don't have to worry about spoilers. But it plays some role towards this. And I think it was kind of nice to see a lot of the background story, but unfortunately, doesn't give a whole lot. The remainder of the movie does have action. Where the action counts, it does matter. A lot of action's really, really fun and exciting. The only thing that wasn't so great about the action, though, is that it's more of a pacifistic type action. Our main characters are not trying to kill Marimea's army, more or less just trying to disarm them. So a lot of the action is them fighting against, them being bullet sponges and taking out their armor, which is still fun to watch. So don't get me wrong, it's still fun to watch. But even with all that said and done, though, right, we get a little more backstory with our pilots. We do get a lot more like this fun action, something akin that we do see in the series itself. I really felt like Gundam Wing Endless Waltz was a rehash a lot of points that we've already seen in the series. There were 2 changes for 2 specific characters. One, I'm not gonna name names. I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but there's 2 characters that do change from the series transition into the movies, which I feel at times was a little bit beyond, like a little bit out of character for them. But in the context of where they were going in the movie, it kind of makes sense. I still didn't like it as much, though. Considering how much we've gone through with these characters in the series and why they flip of the switch became like that in the movies didn't make much sense. One of the characters makes more sense than the others, and that's all I'm gonna have to say about that. But honestly, it was retreading a lot of ground that we've already visited in the original series, such as the ideas of pacifism, the mentality of what it means to be a soldier, or in this case too, being a soldier post a war. Are they being thrown and discarded? Do they continue to fight for some other reason? What of it, right? And these are already like plot lines or stories that we kind of dealt with in the original series. So I kind of felt like it was just, why are we rehashing this, retreading this in the movie itself? So I just thought it just did a really poor job of trying to capture some of the magic that Wing had done, but Wing encapsulated that so much more perfectly than what Waltz did. Honestly, as much as it brings, again, more towards our characters and some more fun action, I really felt like this movie was not necessary. Wing could have just ended off and it would have been fine right there, and we didn't need anything else. Waltz was something fun to watch, though. Not saying it was not fun at all. I just didn't feel like it was necessary towards like the overall story within the AC universe. I do apologize. I just started a new Digimon today. And right now, I've just reset it on my Digimon X, for those who kind of follow this a little bit. And I have a Tokomon, and this thing is demanding right now. He won't be digivolving till later tonight, so yeah. There we go, the babies are all fed. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't expect them to cry that early, or at least that Tokomon. Baby number 2, or baby 2, I guess. And so needy. So needy. Alright, it's not that needy. Yeah, I just largely felt that this movie was just not necessary, though. But it was still fun to watch, don't get me wrong. Now, one thing I do want to talk about too before I jump over to our the mechs of Endless Waltz. Actually, let's just do that. So let me just do that. It's like, so that's what I have to say about Endless Waltz for the most part. But just like our earlier one here with Wing, let's go ahead and just check out some of the suits for Endless Waltz. Now, with Endless Waltz, there isn't a whole lot of new suits introduced in here. Actually, there's only a couple of them. It's not saying a whole lot. But the cool thing about Endless Waltz is that Kuniro Okono, I cannot pronounce their names. I do apologize. Let me see if I can find him here. Kuniro Okawara. I'm terrible at this, but he's a fantastic mech designer who's done a lot for the Gundam franchise itself. When he did the designs for Endless Waltz, he actually did custom versions, and that's something that some fans are aware of. Like most fans are aware of with Gundam Wing. Some newbies might not be, but they might go like, "Why is there 2 different versions of the same Gundam? And why is one's called custom and the other one's not?" Because of Gundam with Gundam Wing Endless Waltz, we have these redesigned Gundams for the customs, right? So a big thing that happened with Endless Waltz, and it's not controversial, it's just a big change, was that the Kunio changed a lot of the designs for the suits from the series to reflect these custom designs. They're basically the exact same Gundams, just made a little cooler. That's basically it. And these custom designs are actually really, really cool. Let me just pull up a few of them for you guys so you guys can check it out. So, like, here's an example of Sandrock, right? That's what he looks like in the series, although he got this later in the series. His Endless Waltz version, though, he goes from 0 to hero. I'm not kidding. I actually really do like the Sandrock version from Endless Waltz. It just gives it a lot more characterization, more personification. In the original Wing, it's kind of okay. Waltz really tunes him up. This could be said with all the other Gundams that we'll be seeing here too. So like Death Scythe Hell, this is what he looks like. I'll show the closed one too, because it's kind of cool when he opens up his cloak and all that stuff like that. Kind of like a Grim Reaper kind of a thing. Turn that to 11 when we get to Endless Waltz. It's a really cool look. I kind of find it funny though with his feet. He's very Jester-esque. My wife actually has the MG or Master Grade model of the Death Scythe Hell, Endless Waltz version. And my God Almighty, this thing's a pain because it's got so many points on this thing. It's not even funny. It doesn't look like it besides the wings, but you got the shoulders, the head, the arms, the kneecaps, the feet. The feet have points. But yes, it's a really, really cool design. I love a lot of the redesigns. I think I did pull up here. Yes, I already had the pre-stage for us, but I do want to talk about my favorite suits and designs for this series, or for at least the movie, right? And in the movie, really love the redesign for Heavy Arms. I liked Heavy Arms a lot in Gundam Wing, but Endless Waltz, I absolutely love it. So we don't see it in this one here too, but he actually has dual Gatling guns, and him just going nuts with his chest Vulcans, his Vulcans on the sides, and his tube missiles everywhere. It is a pleasure sight to see him just tearing through all these Serpent MSs. It's so cool. So cool. I love it. There's also a part in the movie where I don't know how he pulled it off, but he had like in the series, he's a clown at a circus and he wears like this half mask. So in this movie, his suit actually has the half mask like he does when he wears his clown getup. I don't know why they did, but I thought that was just kind of cool, right? It's a neat little function feature. Not function feature, but it's just a neat little feature. Do they have it real? No, but it doesn't. But there's a ton of missiles and stuff like that, and machine guns and whatnot. I just love like Gatling guns, machine guns, and suits that can do that. They're so fun. They're so fun to look at and to watch in action because they're just fun. Fun. It's a simple word I'm going to use here. Fun. Another suit that I love, and it happened to be, they call it a 3. I just feel like it's a redesign with a kit bash, basically. The Tall Geese 3. I actually really like the Tall Geese 3. The design for it, again, we still have a lot of the same features that we have from the original Tall Geese, but some newer features. We get kind of like this shield with the retractable heat rod, kind of like Epion. And then it also has a compact buster rifle almost. What is it that they call it? Do they actually call it a buster rifle or it's a mega cannon is what they call it. I thought that was really, really cool for the Tall Geese. I really liked it. Its fighting capabilities are just right up there, and it's got that marriage between Tall Geese 2, and the Epion. All of them put together, like I said, like a kit bash. And that's how we get Tall Geese 3. Really like the Tall Geese 3. Now, I can't talk about suits I did not like. I'm going to put this one actually a little bit above it. But my love for the Ultron Gundam came back again when I had watched it in the Endless Waltz version. Because it looks so much cooler in the Endless Waltz its custom version. Not the original Ultron, because the dragon arms make more sense. It looks cooler. The double tridents. It's a much more refined suit, much more cooler looking, and much more formidable too. I would say. Really like the Ultron here. Not bad. This one should have been earlier because I would say this would be the first one of that list. So it'd be like Ultron, Heavy Arms, and Tall Geese 3. So I just want to put that in your guys' perspective. Of course, I can't talk about Endless Waltz without mentioning the Wing Zero Custom. The Wing Zero Custom is beautiful. It is elegantly beautiful. We do lose out. Apparently, I guess they changed that up with the Glory of Losers. I can't remember if that's a novelization or not. But they gave it the Neo Bird flight mode so it can transform. But in the movie, it doesn't transform necessarily. It flies with its wings. So it literally like flaps it and flies. Beautiful suit. Just kind of sad that it lost out some of the cooler function features. So between the original and then the Endless Waltz, I like of course the wings are amazing. I like the shoulder pads on it, basically, or polymerons. It's really cool. And some of the looks of it overall, because it doesn't look like this kind of like bulky, kind of wonky kind of look. It's got more of this elegance, this beauty behind, like in front of you, not behind it, but beauty for the suit. But I do miss some features. Like, I actually do really like this shield for the Wing Zero. It gives a lot of its characteristics. And of course, it lost its transformation in the movie. So we didn't see it transform, but we get to see it do its flappy wing flight. That's nice enough. Its angelic appearance. So save that. It gets some pluses and minuses here and there, but it makes it pretty high on my list still. But if we're going to talk about absolute favorite suits from this movie, it's not any of the Gundams, oddly enough. It's actually the only new mobile suit that was introduced in this movie. I am absolutely in love with the Serpent. It does everything that I kind of want things to do. It's got its Gatling gun function. Yeah, it's got other weapons too, but I only care about the Gatling guns, right? Machine guns going crazy. I love it. It's got its crazy like tube missiles everywhere. It's big and bulky. It's got a lot of this like texture and design behind it. I love its headpiece too. The overall body does make it kind of look like a Cobra-esque, so like it really embodies that serpent in its name. Really embodies the snake. Love this design. Something about it too, it screams Armor Core as well. Again, with these blocky designs and I don't know how to put it. I'm like, I just really love this suit's design. In fact, I love it so much. It was one of my first models that I actually still have, where I'm like, usually I made Gundam models before, but I never like painted them or bothered to do anything with them. But with my Serpent model, because it's one of the older models where you actually do have to paint them and stuff like that, I bothered to paint in. This is how much I loved the Serpent. Give me a second here, folks. Oh. I actually got my Serpent back. I love my Serpent. Such a fantastic little model. Yeah, this is the one I completely 100% painted. I don't paint my models. I'm actually very lazy with my models and I don't paint them. But I took my time and my patience with that guy. But I really love this suit. It is such a awesome looking suit. I would almost argue it rivals against my Zaku 2. Like my love for the Zaku 2 almost rivals it. Just again, purely by the aesthetics and utility behind the suit itself. Unfortunately, we don't see it go beyond what it can actually do when it fights, but it's very formidable. It's capable of surviving. I kind of question whether or not it would do a lot better with against the Gundams or not, because what we saw in the movies though is that a lot of the Gundam pilots were literally handicapping themselves, not trying to kill the pilots. So we would see them like either disable the suits in many different ways, cutting off limbs, cutting off the head, disabling the mobile suits, not destroying them. My question would be, because they're made of neo titanium, that's the one thing that they were trying to talk about in the movie, like, oh, there's neo titanium, stuff like that. So I'm like, is it supposed to rival Gundanium? Is it supposed to make them much more formidable? I'm kind of curious if it was put in the hands of like Hero or Duo or whatnot, how much devastation this suit can cause against other mobile suits. You know, how formidable could it be? So, yeah. But absolutely love the Serpent. That said, I do have one more thing we're going to talk about here. And this one's going to be ever so slight. In fact, it's so slight. It's funny, I promote about it and I talked about it, but the Operation Meteor OVAs. I don't have a whole lot to say about this one. But I'm going to keep it very short and simple for you guys when it comes to the Operation Meteor OVAs. So for those of you who don't know, Operation Meteor OVAs is a 4-part OVA series called Even Numbers and Odd Numbers. They do this, it's like even number 1, odd number 1, even number 2, odd number 2. They do this based off of the 5 pilots. You see, each of these episodes are actually a compilation. This entire OVA series is a compilation series, or compilation of Gundam Wing, told from the perspective of the respective pilots. The odd numbers we have is Hiro Yui, Troll Barton, and Wu Fei Chang. The even numbers we have is Duo Maxwell and Catra Baba Winner. So we have the story of Gundam Wing told from their perspectives. The other big thing about this OVA series, and that's what it kind of got its notarization though, is that it brought in some additional new footage after Gundam Wing. So it's supposed to take place at the end of Gundam, after the end of Gundam Wing, and before Endless Waltz. It sounded like a big, huge deal. I'm going to take a sledgehammer and I'm going to break it down for you guys because honestly, it's not that big of a deal. Like I mentioned to you already, it's a compilation series. It's not done fantastically well because all it is that they're about like an hour or so. Some of them are like an hour and 10. Some of them are a little bit less than an hour, like about 58 to 59 minutes, right? 4 episodes, right? Retelling the story through the pilot's eyes, through their experiences. So we get from their perspective. Sometimes they bridge out a little bit out there just so they can get the plot into their story, right? But for the most part, it's kept contained to that pilot particularly. So it's a little bit disjointed about how it tells a story, and done through 4 different parts. Honestly, it's like you know, like, there's a movie called Vantage Point, or you watch those like movies or series where it's like it's through different characters' vantage points of the same events. Yeah, it's kind of like that. It feels very disjointed, very uneven at times. It's okay. It does kind of simplify or rehash some points that were made throughout the entire series, and it's a little bit more poignant through each character's point of view or perspective. But honestly, it feels too much spoon-fed about that, and it lost a lot of its power when you start watching it from that kind of perspective. But on the positive, it emphasizes more for that particular character. So what they represent or what they stood for, it resonates more so with them. So, I mean, that's a positive. I can look into that. Outside of that one, honestly, there are other compilation movies that have done this much better. But let's not even bother with that one there, because everyone was like, well, like, we're talking about compilations, but we want to know, Briston, what about these newer scenes? What are these newer scenes? Again, for those who don't know, this OVA series was only in Japan. When it was brought over here to the States, it was brought on through only the collector's edition. I don't have my box out here, which has like the artwork and all these other cool little knickknacks for Gundam Wing, but you can only watch it through this special edition collector's box set, where it will have Operation Meteor OVAs. It was one of their bigger selling points. I can tell you, amongst about 4.5, I'm going to say 4.5 hours, less than that, 4 hours and 20 minutes or so, right? About 10 minutes of it, not quite 10 minutes, but about 10 minutes of it, it's new footage. 10 minutes, that's not a whole lot. At the end, or at the beginning of every segment, the first episode actually has some newer footage, which just shows after Hiro spoilers. After Hiro destroys the falling block of Libra, it shows his battered up Gundam. They meet up and they head on over to I think it was MO3, or one of the resource satellites that they were now basing themselves at. Afterwards, with the exception of the second episode, episodes 2, 3, and 4 show at the beginning of every pilot's perspective about like a minute or two, not quite like a full 2 minutes, right? Of new footage of them like either interacting with each other or doing something. Honestly, it doesn't really amount to a whole lot. What it equates to is Hiro looking out towards the other pilots, Duo, Catra, and Troa celebrating, coining off of what Duo mentioned at the end of the series. Sorry. Woo. So, I forgot where I left off at. I got brain derped again. I apologize. So, it doesn't really do a whole lot there. So I'm gonna start way from the beginning here so I can catch myself back up. So if you don't want spoilers, turn away right now. Cool. So at the end of Gundam Wing, after Hiro destroys the falling block of Libra, the first episode shows first few minutes of Hiro surviving that event and then rejoining with the other 4 Gundam pilots, and they head off to what looks like MO3 or one of the resource satellites that they were now basing themselves out of during the fight with White Fang. Not part of episode 2, but the latter 2 episodes, the beginning of every single pilot's perspective, we get what happens after this fight. What it really attributes to is about not quite it's about a minute or 2 minutes, not quite a full 2 minutes or so of new footage, basically of them either talking with each other or doing certain actions. With Hiro, we get him looking over the other pilots and thinking or like fixing up his own Gundam on the Wing Zero. You get Catra, Tro, and Duo trying to prepare themselves, kind of like celebrating, because Duo, as he mentioned, was like, hey, if we survive this fight, I'll treat us as champagne. And so they all kind of celebrate together in a sense. It's kind of like a lead up, right? And then Wu Fei kind of goes off being his loner kind of self. And then later, at the very end, there is a latter portion where basically Wu Fei's taking off and he's trying to tell Hiro, hey, could you tell the others, you are all really good pilots? And he's like, tell them yourself. not being dismissive of him, but why don't you just do it yourself? You're right here. And he doesn't, and pretty much kind of takes off, and that's how it ends. For all the new footage and this talk about there's additional footage at the end of the series, it didn't really amount to much. It didn't really lead up to Endless Waltz. It does have a little bit of a hinge towards a little bit of an ominous unsettling about what the times are going to happen after this final fight with White Fang. Will the world truly achieve true pacifism or not? So it kind of trying to gives you that little I'm not too sure, or lead up to Endless Waltz. But in all honesty, it doesn't really amount to anything. Operation Meteor, for the most part, is really skippable. Even as a compilation series or compilation OVAs, you're better off watching the movies. It's better told that way. And it just feels super disjointed, super discombobulated. That's the best way I would put it. Really stay away from it unless you're a huge Gundam Wing fan. I mean, I love Gundam Wing. I'm not a huge Gundam Wing fan, but I love Gundam Wing. But it's not necessary. It's not a recommended viewing, if that makes sense. But speaking of recommended viewing, let me go ahead and jump into my second to last segment here. So let me jump into my second to last segment here is, I'm new to the Gundam franchise. Should I start with Gundam Wing first? It's very hard for me to say this without having some level of personal bias, but after having reviewed it itself too, I can absolutely confidently say this unbiasedly. Yeah, start with Gundam Wing as your first into the Gundam franchise. In fact, I say this with absolute confidence because, not just because I was a 90s kid that grew up with Gundam Wing is really, really accessible. It's one of the easier Gundams to get into. Even though the story can be convoluted at plenty of points, the action carries you through. And even though through the confusion, it does add on towards it. It carries a lot of the core elements of the Gundam franchise. In fact, kind of retelling or redoing it in some different way or form. And it's a series that it's super fun to get into. If you jump into this one, I would say the only thing that's gonna be different compared to any other Gundam series that you would jump into itself is that it's a lot less political and a lot less actiony. And that's not saying by a whole lot, because every single Gundam series is political to some point. Every single Gundam series actually has a decent amount of action. A lot of people say that Gundam Wing has more action than any other Gundam series. I would actually argue G Gundam has more action than Gundam Wing. But Gundam Wing has a little bit more of a consistency with the action and the story. And it really, really shows. But definitely, I would recommend you to watch Gundam Wing as your very first Gundam series into the Gundam franchise. Without a doubt. As for if you were new and you were to start off with Gundam Wing Endless Waltz, my answer for you is pretty short, pretty simple on this one. No. I would not recommend Endless Waltz to be your very first foray into the Gundam franchise. First and foremost, this is a sequel movie to Wing. You're better off watching Wing first than jumping into Endless Waltz. Second to that, it doesn't capture a lot of the elements or consistency that you would see from Endless Waltz to other Gundam franchises or Gundam series or movies. Sorry. I hate that. Let me start from the top here. So if it's not all right, so now when it comes to Endless Waltz, I'm gonna say no. Definitely don't start off Endless Waltz as your first series into the Gundam franchise, or in this case, movie. Reason for this, kind of some obvious reasons though. First and foremost, this is a sequel movie to Wing. You're better off starting with Wing first than watching this so you can understand a lot more what's going on and get a lot more of the nuances of the themes and plots, basically. And a lot more of understanding the characters. Second to that one, there are other Gundam movies that have a better storytelling that you can jump into and have more familiarity with it or not having to understand what's going on, rather than Endless Waltz. You can easily jump into F91 or dare I even say Char's Counterattack and still get a lot more out of it and a lot more enjoyment than Endless Waltz. That being said too, Endless Waltz doesn't also give a good representation towards the Gundam franchise itself. Mainly it's just because its key points is really revolving around its latter portions of the Wing series, which is all about the argument about pacifism and the ideals for and against war. It doesn't really bode well when you're going into other series where they don't really talk about pacifism or anything like that, other than like war is bad, war is hell, and all that other stuff. So that's a little bit of a wrong expectation there too. Not saying it's not a fun movie though, but for a first watch, I don't think so. You're better off watching Wing instead. Lastly, I don't have a picture for it, unfortunately, so we'll just use this one right here. But if you're new to the Gundam franchise and somehow, magically, or luckily, you got your hands on Operation Meteor OVAs, should you start on that first? Absolutely not. I do not recommend the Operation Meteor OVAs for a newbie into the Gundam franchise. Similar reasons as I kind of mentioned though, Gundam Wing is probably your better starting off point. It's a much more consistent and stable story to tell. Operation Meteor chops up portions of it and serves it to you per pilot. So you're going to get Hiro's storyline, but you're going to miss all the other bits and pieces. And then you get another pilot story, which then fills in those pieces. And then you get another pilot that fills in those other pieces. And that's not to say that each episode tells it thoroughly. So it's a very disjointed way of watching Wing. And the only benefit you'll get from it is getting a more of an understanding of what the mentality is behind that pilot. But honestly, you can get that more so when you're watching the series than anything else. So definitely stay away from the OVA of Operation Meteor. Not your first foray. Now, as for an overall... sorry. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Now, as for an overall for Gundam Wing, at least, Like a high-profile actor, Gundam Wing takes center stage in the Gundam franchise with its grandiose story about the theatrics of politics. Although there are times that the story can be very operatic and... Or, sorry. Let me try and read this through. I tend to get ahead of myself on this. So I do apologize. Let me just do a cold read so you guys can get an idea of what I wrote down. Like I said, I always like to write down these overalls because it's kind of like an actual critique, right? Like a end all be all without all this not fluff that I talk about, but me ranting. But like a high-profile actor, Gundam Wing takes center stage in the Gundam franchise with its grandiose story about the theater of politics. Though at times the operatic story and political actions can get convoluted, you won't get completely lost as the spectacular action and pacing serenades you through this ever-changing series. All right, so let me try and do that. And then for Wing, or Endless Waltz. Now for Endless Waltz, it tries to serenade you back into the Wing storyline, but isn't very graceful with it. The overall story and build just felt unnecessarily and rehashed from the series, but it was nice to finally have a little bit more backstory behind the pilots. Beyond this, the movie is decent and fun to watch. That doesn't entirely disappoint anybody who's watched Wing. Alright, it doesn't entirely disappoint the viewer. And lastly, Operation Meteor OVA is a disappointing compilation OVA series. It doesn't really offer a whole lot other than a disjointed view of the entire Gundam Wing franchise, and honestly, the newer footage doesn't really offer much other than 10 minutes of newer footage that doesn't really add up towards finalizing Gundam Wing, nor builds up towards Endless Waltz. Much of it is just throwaway, as much as this OVA series. Okay. Here we go. Let's try and do this in one go. This will be really, really hard. Watch this, folks. Alright, and as for the overall, like a high-profile actor, Gundam Wing takes center stage in the Gundam franchise with its grandiose story about the theater of politics. Though at times the operatic story and the political actions can get convoluted, you won't get completely lost as the spectacular action, along with the pacing, serenades you through this ever-changing series. New mobile report, Gundam Wing gets the fantastical and beautifully masterful 5 out of 5. Now, when it comes to Endless Waltz, though, Endless Waltz tries to serenade you back into the end. I apologize, there's like a bunch of motorcycles outside right now, so I don't want that in the audio. Now, as for Endless Waltz, it tries to serenade you back into the Wing storyline, but isn't really graceful with it. The overall story and build-up just feel really, really unnecessary and treading the familiar grounds that the series has already treaded through, but it was nice to finally see and have more backstory behind the pilots. Beyond this, the movie is decent and fun to watch that doesn't entirely disappoint you as a viewer or a familiar fan of the Wing series. Let me try and start that over again. Any viewer. I gotta fix that up. I'm reading off a script almost, right? The only times I ever read off of a script, truly. I mean, I got everything bullet pointed. Ugh. Alright, let's do this. Now, as for Endless Waltz, it tries to serenade you back into the Wing storyline, but isn't very graceful with it. The overall story and build-up just feels unnecessary and retreads a lot of ground that Wing had already covered, but it was nice to finally see more backstory behind the pilots. Beyond this, the movie was a decent watch and was fun overall that doesn't really disappoint any viewer for the Gundam franchise. Now, as for Endless Waltz, it tries to serenade you back into the Wing storyline, but isn't very graceful with it. The overall story and the build-up just feels really unnecessary and retreads a lot of ground that we've seen in the original series. But it's nice to see some background story for our main pilots. Beyond this, the movie is a decent watch and is somewhat, bleh. I got all tongue-tied again. Whew. Let's do this. Sorry. As for Endless Waltz, it tries to serenade you back into the Wing storyline, but is not ever so graceful with it. The overall story and the build-up for it was just unnecessary and felt like retreading a lot of ground from the original series. But it was nice to have more of a backstory for our pilots. Beyond this, let me just cold read it again. I apologize. I'm getting ahead of myself. This is what happens when I allow myself too much freedom and I try to overread things and I add more and it trips me up. So, Endless Waltz tries to serenade you back into the Wing storyline, but isn't very graceful with it. The overall story and build just feel really unnecessary, but it was nice to finally yeah. And the overall story and build-up just feel really unnecessary and retreads a lot from the series, but it was nice to finally have more of a background story behind the pilots. Beyond this, the movie is a decent and fun watch that doesn't entirely disappoint any viewer. Let's try that again. Okay, so now as for Endless Waltz, it tries to serenade you back into the Wing storyline, but isn't very graceful with it. The overall story and build-up just feel really unnecessary and retreads a lot from the series, but it was nice to finally have some backstory for our main pilots. Beyond this, the movie is decent and fun to watch that doesn't disappoint any viewer. New Mobile Report Gundam Wing Endless Waltz Special Edition movie gets a 3 out of 5. And lastly, for Operation Meteor OVA series, it was a really disappointing and a letdown OVA series, or in this fact, a compilation series that tries to retell the entire Gundam Wing storyline through each perspective of our 5 pilots. Because of its disjointed storyline telling, it really makes it a mix mash and not a really good compilation way of watching the entire series. Paired with that, the infamous new scenes, about 10 minutes of new footage that doesn't really add much to the end of the Gundam Wing story and doesn't really add much or anything at all to Endless Waltz. Literally, there is no end or build up to either one. Honestly, this OVA series is pretty much forgettable and you're better off watching the series and the movies in their respective way and just ignoring Operation Meteor overall. The New Mobile Report Gundam Wing Operation Meteor OVAs gets an appalling 1 out of 5. Alright, well that's all I pretty much have to say about the Gundam Wing series here and the others with it. I do have to say I had a lot of fun revisiting this. I don't know how many times I watched Gundam Wing. I could confidently say that with Gundam Wing, this is, out of all the Gundam series in the entire franchise, this is the one series I literally have lost count of. I've watched this series however many times it reran for on Cartoon Network's Toonami blog, alongside with the Midnight Run for the uncut edition of this. I bought the DVDs back when it was released, I want to say mid-2000s, and I watched that like 3 or 4 times. And then, of course, when Right Stuff got the licensing rights and they re-released it as the collector's edition with the the abysmal Operation Meteor OVAs. This is my second time rewatching it on Blu-ray. Doesn't really look much of like an HD remaster or anything like that, but I've honestly lost count. At best, I counted at least 6 times, probably. Like 4 times I watched on my DVDs, 2 times with my Blu-rays. If you can figure out how many times that Cartoon Network reran Gundam Wing for, add that to my total number and you'll get the idea of how many times I watched. I've obviously watched this one so many times. I watched it more than I watched the original Gundam and Zeta Gundam, and that's counting the rewatches I watch on the DVDs or Blu-rays. So it's It's a lot. And I know like a lot of people are gonna go like, well, Preston, aren't you going to be like aren't you like a winger then? Are like a huge one? Are you going to be like against your UC? I'm like, not so much so. I have a lot of admiration and love for Gundam Wing for what it has done. It got me into the Gundam franchise way back in the 2000s. To this day, it's one of the few Gundam series that where I find it has a lot of rewatchability that has so much more that you can keep picking up on after every single watch. Oh boy. Sorry about that, folks. I got a couple of bots to nuke. But, I was gonna put that again. It was, I apologize. My brain kind of farted right there, but, it's a series that I can keep coming back to and rewatch, and I find something new about it. I find something more nuanced about it, or find another plot point that I didn't realize, or like another philosophy or ideology that they're trying to get behind. They're trying to tell it in some manner or form. So this series is one of those few Gundam series that I just come back to and I appreciate even more so. Does that make me a winger? Not necessarily. Does it make me a fan of it? Yeah, I guess so. But I still love my UC storylines more than I love Gundam Wing. But I have an absolute appreciation for, you know, my my starting grounds. You know. Oh, hold on, I'm gonna sneeze. I apologize. But yeah, that's what I gotta say about Gundam Wing as its entirety. You know, the series, the movie, and the appalling OVAs. But why don't you tell me what you think about it? And just real quick, too, if you haven't already, make sure that if you're watching this on Twitch, follow me on my Twitch channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment down below. I want to hear from you guys, especially after watching this review. What do you think about the Wing series overall? Did you like the series? Did you like the movies? Have you ever seen the Operation Meteor OVAs? What you think about them? Did you agree with me that they're kind of garbage? Not kind of, they are garbage. Or did you think that Wing itself is garbage? Did you have a hard time with the story? I mean, I totally get it. I know some of my friends did not like Wing because of that very reason, but they still enjoy the action of it. So give or take. But I want to hear from you guys. Leave a comment down below. And of course, if you want to keep abreast about what I'm doing or when I'm going to be doing my next review, follow me on my Twitter account. On my Twitter account, I announce when I'm going to go live, what I'm reviewing next, and of course, random things here and there. That said, I do want to thank you for sticking around for this very lengthy, nerdy review. And until the next review, I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Oh, excuse me. Oof. Apologize. That was a much longer review. I didn't expect that to be 2 hours. It is going to be a long one to talk about. But I did cover a lot of things with Gundam Wing. I do want to let you know, guys, that I have already started on X here. Hopefully I will get that readied up and viewed for next Saturday. If I'm not mistaken here, I'm trying to keep track of my times. I'm a little bit lost here. 2 weeks from now, I am probably not going to be able to stream, and if I do, it'll be a later stream, like later in the evening or something like that. It's just because I'm going to be helping out the wife here, so I'm not going to be able to actually stream like my normal times, or even at an earlier time. I'm going to be streaming at a much later time if I'm not too tired. But depending on what happens, I might end up streaming something I don't want to stream. Yeah, you might know what I'm talking about. So I'm kind of like following a timeline here of Gundam series, right? Oh, look at that. We're following through. So we already did all the Universal Century. We're already done with that, right? Oh, yeah, I got that screen. I thought I didn't have it up. And we finished up G Gundam the other week, and we finished up Gundam Wing right now. I'm watching Gundam X. Turn A was part of that, so we don't have to worry. Oh, look at that! We go straight into the Anno Domini. We get Gundam 00, right? We're following the timeline, right? We don't have to worry about anything else. I can just keep going, right? Yeah. So if you guys want me to, I want to hear from you guys. You want me to review Seed next? I'm still on X. I did some digging. I found my Gundam Seed DVDs and Seed Destiny DVDs. I was originally just gonna wait till Right Stuff released the full HD remasters of Seed, but I know a lot of seedlings. I'm not gonna say fanboys or fangirls. I'm gonna just call them what they are. They're seedlings. Just like you could call Gundam Wing fanboys wingers, or UC elitists like myself. Seedlings claim that the HD remix or remaster is garbage because the dubbing is garbage. And they said that the original dubbing was superior. My recollection is that the dubbing was absolute garbage, even though there's a few voice actors and actresses I do like, but the overall dub was garbage to me. Same thing with Destiny. Oh, let me just pull up something real fast. See Destiny. Right stuff. Oh, looky. I found out today that they're going to be releasing the Gundam Seed Destiny Collector's Edition. Man, that is expensive. Wow, it's actually an earlier release date. Wait, did they already release? True? I'm now kind of curious. Wait. Oh, I think it's them apologizing because they had some issues with it, I think. If I remember correctly. This has to be it. No, that's not it. What? Let me kind of find it for you guys real quick. Give me a moment here. That's the same one then, isn't it? Ah! There we go. Oh, it's already out. It's already been released. I didn't want to drop $225 plus on a series I don't care for. Although Destiny kind of caught my attention because they are actually going to be releasing it with the Stargazer. That's something I found out. I'm not excited, as you can tell. I'm not satisfied, as you can tell. Ugh. I'm like, I would like to get, to complete my Blu-ray collection of my Gundam series, right? Get Seed and Seed Destiny, even though I don't like them. I wouldn't mind spending. I usually get them like about $50 a piece on Amazon or something like that. I can't justify $250 or $225. That'd be $500. $500 for 2 series. I could give jack squat about. I don't care. I don't like them, at least by memory. Okay, but I still have them DVD formatted. So, the ultimate question, do I dare ask? Do you guys want me to review Gundam Seed and Gundam Seed Destiny? I do have them again, DVDs. I have the Anime Legends box sets 1 and 2 for Seed. And I never got the Anime Legends for Seed Destiny because I actually bought them when they were releasing them individually on DVD with the special 2-set collector's edition like inserts, basically. Yeah, that's how I got them. That's how I got them. I can watch that next after after X. I mean, I want to hear from you guys. You guys want me to watch that? Seriously, want me to watch it? I will. I'll give you my honest opinion about it, just like I gave with everything else too. Unbiased. I can actually watch something unbiasedly and say if I liked it or not. I mean, I can watch something I absolutely love and trash it to death. Some people are going to be like, well, you done that with Wing. I'm like, what was there to trash about Wing? The only thing I could trash about Wing was plot shielding in Hero. Yes, the story gets convoluted, but after rewatching this most recent time, the convolution makes sense. Long story short, it's intentionally done so that way you are confused alongside with the characters to be able to determine who's truly an enemy and who's not an enemy, or what are they truly fighting for. So it's poignant within the characters themselves alongside with the atmosphere that's going on. Oh, okay. Okay, I was about to say, like, it's got the HE only. I'm like, oh, it does have. It's just like the other one where it has the 50 original episodes plus the F1 Final Plus, which I do have too. 4 special edition movie compilations. Funny thing is, I do have 2 of the 4 movies for Seed Destiny. I have all 3 for Seed. I actually bought them individually, and then this is how much of a fan I am, even though I hate this, right? I bought the movies in the special edition box, collector's edition box set, just so I can get the CD for this music. That's how much of a fan I am of Gundam. I can overlook the crap and go like, I want it still. God, I hate myself. No, just kidding. I mean, I still have that though, but art book's kind of cool. I like the art books though. Timelines and stuff like that's pretty cool. I saw something pop up. Sorry. The original dub release in console. Oh, you. If I want to get my hands on this or the movies, I had to buy this stupid $225 box set. That goes the same thing with Seed. My wife will never agree to this. You have no idea how bad, like, it's like, I hate it. I hate Seed so much, but I would still say, yeah, I'll buy that. That's terrible. But that's how you know when you're a fan. And it's like, it's not like blind being a fan of something. It's like you acknowledge the bad. You acknowledge the garbage, but alright, and I'm not being fair. I keep trashing and I keep calling Seed garbage, but honestly, I'm basing it off of my memories of Seed, and honestly, with my first time watching Seed, when I watched it with terrible fan subs, or fan dub, no, not fan subs, it's a bootleg, so it's bad subs, really, really bad subs. And then I watched the English version of it on the box set that I bought. Absolutely hating the series afterwards because it was a legit copy of the original Gundam and a bunch of other series. And then when I got into Destiny was a repeat of Seed, but also copying Zeta and Wing at times, with so much stock footage. I mean, okay, look, I talk about stock footage in Gundam Wing, and I said they use stock footage. They do. But you maybe like use it once per episode, or maybe at twice. Because like I remember some scenes where like the torsos are doing like this 3-shot angle, right? And they did it like twice in an episode. Seed and Seed Destiny are atrocious because they've done something akin to that, but they would use the exact same stock footage, multiple episodes, multiple times through the episodes. I think one that I caught was so egregious was like specific types of like in the Seed Destiny, it was the Zaku Warriors or something like that, and they were using the exact same stock footage 5 times in that episode. 5 times. And that's just one example. There's multiple times where they would use the exact same stock footage multiple times throughout the entire episode. They were literally just trying to fill out that time slot. And it was just, look, it's supposed to be action, it's supposed to be fun. Stock footage from from other episodes, sure, fine, whatever. But change it up. but they use the exact same stock footage multiple times through every single episode. That's not good. That's no good. That's like taking a 5-day-old pizza, sprinkling new toppings on it, right? Like just some toppings, not a whole lot. Toss it into a microwave, not an oven, a microwave. Reheat that for like a quick minute, just so it's subpar warm. Serving it to you. Oh wait, you're not done with the pizza? Okay, don't worry, we'll save it for later. Pop that back in the fridge. Pop it out of the fridge and put it in the microwave for another minute and a half. Here you go, lukewarm goods. Lukewarm, rehashed goods. You tell me if that was any good or not. That's how I feel about Seed and Sea Destiny. That's what I think about it. Would I still drop $225 on it? Yes. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, lordy. I don't know if you could tell. I keep looking at that. And I go like, I want it. The more I hate it, the more I want it. Oh, it's like a... is it Sadist or Masochist? I can't remember. Sadist is the one that delivers. Masochist is taking it, I think. So I'm a masochist for Seed. God, this is terrible. I bring that up because I'm thinking about Hellraiser at the same time too. I can't wait till I tell you the truth. I can't wait till once I'm done with the Gundam franchise and I'm going to start reviewing movies. I would love to start reviewing horror movies again. And Hellraiser has been on my mind because I just watched it not too long ago too. So it's a fun movie. Well, at least I like the first 2 movies. Can't speak for the other movies. Maybe 4. I like 4. I don't care what people have to say about 4, but I liked 4. That's the one with the bloodlines. The one with the different generations, the 3 different generations. I like that. Anyways, not talking about horror movies right now. I gotta talk about Gundam. This is something I'll think about. There's a limited quantity of Gundam Seed Ultimate Collector's Edition. Order before they're gone. Yeah. Yeah. I think the only thing that would caught my interest is I want to complete my Blu-ray set. I can't justify this. I really cannot justify any of this. Anyways, folks, I think I'm gonna go ahead and cut the stream. I can't believe I went on for 2.5 hours. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about. Outside of all that stuff, right? So like I was mentioning earlier on, I was thinking about doing Spotify. Not completely going into a podcast route or anything like that, but a family friend recommended me, like, hey, you know, if you already got your episodes and stuff like that, why don't you just convert them into audio files and you can just upload them to Spotify? So that, like, hey, that wouldn't be a bad idea. I never really thought about that. Because not everybody, I mean, like, look, if you watch the stream, it's okay, and if you watch the videos, they're okay. I don't do a whole lot for these, right? At best, I hastily edit these things and then I throw them up. Again, it's just to get me to do stuff, and of course, sorry, paved the way for me to do more production stuff in the future. Right now I'm just trying to get Gundam out of the way because, God, this is taking me forever. For those you don't know already too, like, look how many more series I still got to watch. I've gone this far, basically. I'm counting Gundam Wing and Gundam X into this. I've gone this far. I still got this left. That's still a while ago. I've been doing this for 4 months now. I did this since mid-May. We are now coming to mid-March. That's 4 months. So May, June, July, August. I mean, it's 3, but feels like 4 months. 3.5 at best, 4.5 at most. This feels like a lot. And I'm almost done. That's if I do seed too. If not, it will cut it down shorter. But I'm like, I feel like I'm disservicing myself and I'm disservicing you guys too, because I want to give this a second go. And it's been more than a decade since I last watched it. I'm still not excited. But on that other note, like I said, I'm going to be converting a lot of the videos I've already done into audio format. I'm going to put them on Spotify just so people want to do more of an audio listen rather than watching my stupid face on this tiny little, am I right here? Yes. This tiny little screen, you know. You guys can watch it, you can listen to me. Aside from that too, like I mentioned to you as well, I'm going to be doing other videos once I'm done with the Gundam franchise. Thank you. More videos based on the Gundam franchise. It's just I'm not going to do any more reviews because I'm already done with the Gundam reviews itself. I'm going to cover a lot more on the Gundam franchise. After that, I would like to branch off and do other reviews. Movies, games, comics, manga, anime, you know, that kind of sort of thing. I'm probably going to stay away from shows, like TV shows and anime for a little bit unless it's an anime movie. I'm going to just stay away from a series because I'm done with series at the moment here. Although there are other series I would like to review, such as Votom's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the entire Dragon Ball franchise, Sand Super, because I've already done Super already. So yeah, I want to do those, but I'm going to try and get everything kind of formatted into Spotify so that way you guys can listen to it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know when I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to try and actually work on it today. Like get my Spotify up and going, start linking things, and then as I edit this one, I might put this one up first. If not, then I'm going to start putting up all the other sequential ones first. Depending how quickly I can get that turned into audio files. I think I could get it pretty quickly. I'm not sure, but I'm on the assumption. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm thinking and looking at other things. The other thing I was gonna do, I said it on Twitter too. I feel like I'm terrible and I'm a liar here at this point because I'm really tired. It's now coming up to 2 o'clock. My wife is gonna be coming home less than 30 minutes, I think. And I know I'm gonna help her out, and I got other things to do too. So I think. And I know my friend, if you guys kind of watched it out too, last 2 weeks, I've been streaming with him, my friend Tyler, Mech Warrior 5 Mercenaries. So I wouldn't be surprised if I'm going to be playing with him. I'm going to probably play with him later tonight, because he's actually doing some stuff right now as I speak. So I guess it's perfect timing. I was supposed to stream Back for Blood with my closed beta, and you guys can get drops and stuff like that. Honestly, I mean, obviously I don't get a whole lot of views, that's okay, but I don't think I'm going to do it right now. I am way too tired and exhausted, and I still got this to edit. I'm going to be converting stuff into video, from video to audio, and try to create Spotify, get everything set up and situated for Spotify, so I'm probably going to try and find other things too that I can situate that into as well. So I don't know. I'm probably not going to stream it again until later today. Actually gaming, not a review here. I'm just kind of like reading some of that stuff right there. I was like, man, I really still thinking about this. Still thinking about it. I'm gonna leave you guys with this, but this is some new information for those of you, for you seedlings that are excited. Gundam Seed Destiny, yeah, they just announced it today, I think, for the pre-orders for this. I could swear that Seed was supposed to come out this year, and then this one will come out next year. But if I'm not mistaken here, Right Stuff has then released every single Gundam series with the exception of Re-Rise. Re-Rise and Twilight Axis. But Twilight Axis, I've now found out it's actually a 22-minute waste of time. It's a sequel to the OVA series Unicorn Gundam. Oh god. But I heard this was an absolute mess from the review I had read too, and I was like, well, it's 22 minutes, and if I can find it, I can find it, but if I can't, not worth my time. Not worth my time at all. Besides, we're already past the UC century, and 22 minutes, rather waste it watching an episode on something else. Woo! But that is everything Gundam right now. Oh, I'm tired. Alright, guys. I'm gonna try not pass out right now while I'm trying to get things edited and fixed up for y'all. But like I said earlier, too, if you're watching this on Twitch, follow me on my Twitch account. If you're watching this on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment down below. I want to hear from you guys, seriously. And seriously, too, if you want me to review the Seed and Sea Destiny, I really, really want to hear from you guys. I really want to hear you guys tell me, hey, Briston, review Seed. Shut your pie hole about it being garbage. I want you to review it and tell me how good it is 10 years, like a decade plus later. I know you seedlings refuse to say that Seed is garbage, but I tell it like it is, and I'm not gonna be a liar. So if I like Seed after 10 years later, you never know. Never know. But the only way I'm gonna know is if I watch it, and is if I can get you guys to tell me, Briston, watch Seed. I want to hear you guys. Leave a comment down below. Of course, if you want to keep updated about when I'm gonna go live and all that stuff like that, my Twitter account, I make announcements when I go live, what I'm reviewing next, and random things here and there. That said, seriously, y'all, thank you for watching this live stream. I know it's been really, really long. Sticking around with me and having fun watching my little bloopers and stuff like that. But yeah, I really appreciate it. Hope you all have a great, wonderful rest of your day. I just want to end off with something positive too, which is like I said before, you know, have small victories in your life. Make every day have a small victory. Something that you can accomplish and you can be proud of, you know? Be as happy as you can be, because every day you just got to make it your own. Got to own the day. So, yeah. I just want to leave you guys with that, like I've said previously, but yeah. I'll add off one more thing is your worst enemy is yourself. And unless you can beat yourself mentally in your head, you're not going to be able to beat anybody else. So shut down those negative comment or negative thoughts. Bring in the positivity, constructive positivity, not blind positivity. Bring in the constructive positivity. Uplift yourself. And really, really try to motivate yourself to do better every day. Trust me when I say this. If you can motivate yourself every day to do good and make those small victories count, and it can be small, whatever you find is important, make it count. I promise you, you'll feel a hell of a lot better every single day. I know I do. I just want to share that with y'all. Wish you all the best, and until the next live stream, probably later tonight, I will catch you guys next time. Take care.